Tour of the historic Comstock House in Moorhead. We'll get all the details on that. WDAY Ag Director Bridgette Readel will give us details on the Northern Ag Expo, which is Tuesday and Wednesday at the Fargo Dome. And Steve Hallstrom will be in with Short Attention Span Radio. All this and more in the next Bonnie and Friends beginning at 5 a.m. Join us.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM. Fargo Moorhead.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon. 103 right now, 32 degrees outside Fargo. Mostly cloudy skies with a south wind, 13 miles an hour. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Ag Director Bridgette Readel. How was your guys' Thanksgiving? Was it well?
Very good. It was very good. Had the sun up here, and he actually had a little airtime with us on Wednesday. So we had a nice turkey dinner and leftovers galore, and I made a big pot last night of turkey soup.
Perfect.
I mean, I'll have to bring some in because, well, I could freeze it, but I'd get worn out on turkey soup after a while, I think.
Just freeze it, and then you have a little bit every so often.
So it was great. It was great. How about you guys?
Yeah, actually, great weekend. Nice chance to kind of unwind, and the weather was great, right? I saw a lot of snow melt on the days I went out and walked on our trail just south of Hunter to Arthur, and it's been good weather. So I realize that's probably going to change for many reasons. One, it's after Thanksgiving. Two, it's the week of the North Dakota Northern Ag Expo. It always storms this week. And three, just because I'm pretty sure you guys are going to tell me it's going to get colder.
It's going to get colder.
Okay, handy. Thanks.
At some point.
It is winter.
Somewhere, some point, it will get colder.
All right, I'm prepared.
Dry conditions, though.
Okay.
Not good for travel, not good for our ag community.
Any maybe snow?
There is some maybe snow in the forecast.
We like maybe snow.
There is some maybe snow, no big snow that we see at this standpoint. That could change, but typically when you get these Arctic air masses, which looks like we're going to have some coming down next week, typically when you get those, usually, not all the time, but usually there's a pretty significant storm prior to that Arctic air pouring in. So,
is this the point where I call it an Alberta Clipper and just blame the Canadians?
Not this time.
Okay, good.
But later in the month, you'll be able to.
Well,
Yes.
they're our friends for right now until we get their cold air mass. Fair enough.
So what? Your Thanksgiving was good as well?
Yeah, it was. It was quiet. It was nice. And we stopped over at the in-laws for a few hours and came home, had some leftovers, and then just spent a few quiet days.
So Grandma had pre-Christmas for baby storm, right? So at this point, the stockpile of gifts is growing.
It's growing.
Yeah.
It's slowly growing.
You're in trouble. But
the amount of pictures that my mom keeps sending me on things that she wants to buy them. Like, holy moly.
Have you considered stock and Fisher Price?
Yes.
You should.
Indeed.
All right.
Might have to. Well, a lot of fun things coming up on the show today. We're going to have our guest on, Jason Dannelly from AgSpray of Fargo. It'll be interesting to see what's going on over there. And Bridgette, you were mentioning that if you're trying to get a spray trailer, this is who you go to around our area to get everything in bulk, right?
They really are one of our foremost suppliers when it comes to tanks, meters, pumps. If you're working on your sprayer, need nozzles, hoses, etc. So it's a lot of parts equipment, but I think there's more to it than just that. Do things just automatically show up every time we need them? Well, we've had some supply chain issues, so we'll talk to Jason about those.
Sometimes. I mean, you need any grains, produce, meat. It's just at the grocery store. That's where it spawns.
That's what we think. So we'll talk through that with Jason. You bet.
Other things coming up on the show today. We're going to find out who's buying farmland and other places in the United States. We want to know what's going on down in the southern portion of the plains. Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas. It looks like a likely bet for severe weather tomorrow, possibly some strong tornadoes. We'll touch on that a little bit throughout the show. And as well, we want to find out what's going on over in Ukraine, harvest status, and is there any update on anything going on over there with the agreement with Russia? Well, we'll touch on that a little bit and see what's going on. So we hope that you stay around with us and feel free to join our conversation at any point during our show. Give us a phone call, 701-293-9000, or reach us via email, weather@flagfamily.com or ag@flagfamily.com. We're going to get you updated with the latest news and headlines from ABC. Then Weather and Ag in Focus will return.
From ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. It's Cyber Monday, the busiest online shopping day of the year. Americans are expected to spend more than $11 billion online today. That's according to Adobe. And that's one part of the holiday weekend that comes into focus every year. Another is travel, and ABC's Andrew Dimbert has more on that.
An estimated 49 million people drove to their holiday destinations, despite gas prices at a Thanksgiving record high.
This is $4.19, so I was like, this is crazy.
The weather is complicating matters. The busy I-95 corridor from D.C. to Philadelphia to Boston being hit with heavy rains. And for those who delayed their travel plans until Monday, a winter storm could bring 1 to 2 feet of snow to some parts of the Pacific Northwest.
It's a complicated day for the nation's fourth largest city. There is a boil water advisory in effect for all of Houston, Texas. ABC's Brooke Taylor explains.
Houston says their main water system dropped below the water pressure after a power outage. Governor Greg Abbott sent a statement saying, quote, the state of Texas is immediately responding and deploying support to Houston as they work to get a safe supply of water back online.
Authorities say people who drank the water before the advisory should be fined. They hope to have the advisory lifted by Tuesday. Republicans are poised to take control of the House in the new year, and that'll change congressional priorities. Representative Michael McCall, set to take over as chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, told ABC's This Week the U.S. would continue to support Ukraine, but would not issue what he called a blank check.
We give them what they need, they win. If we don't, it's going to be a long, protracted war.
He also said he believes that Kevin McCarthy will receive enough support to be Speaker. Authorities in China cracking down on protests across the country over COVID restrictions. Some demonstrators have even called for the ouster of Xi Jinping. You're listening to ABC News.
If you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in taxes, please listen to this important message. The IRS is aggressively hiring and quickly ramping up their tax collection team. Act now and protect yourself with a call to Tax Alliance. Don't let the money you owe the IRS keep you up at night and ruin your life. You may be surprised at how much having Tax Alliance on your side can protect you from the IRS collections and help you save thousands on what you owe. Here's what a customer had to say.
Tax Alliance did an amazing job helping me through a quite difficult situation, saving me tens and thousands of dollars that I would have been paying for many years to come.
Tax Alliance is rated A+ with a Better Business Bureau with no consumer complaints. If you owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes, have unfiled returns, or have a payment plan and are still frustrated, call Tax Alliance now for a free consultation. 800-577-4976. 800-577-4976. 800-577-4976.
Tax Alliance, your tax resolution solution.
Hi, Nancy Kelly here from Labor Masters. I'd like to take time to say thank you to the businesses, the homeowners, and the 1,500 plus employees that worked with us this past year. We know that without you, there would be no us. So thanks to each and every one of you for helping us have another successful year. And remember, if you need seasonal help, give us a call at 701-566-8755 or find us online at labormasters.net. From all of us at Labor Masters, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
Your new one-stop shop for the latest in news, weather, sports, and community happenings is WDAYRadioNow.com. Stay up to date online, on your phone, on the go. Interviews with newsmakers, all your favorite local shows on demand, for those days when you don't want to miss anything. Get your forecast so you're always in the know when it comes to the weather, and find information on shows and personalities. If it's happening now, it's happening on WDAYRadioNow.com. That's WDAYRadioNow.com.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us. 111 right now. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Ag Director Bridgette Readel. You know, I thought this was pretty interesting. I was taking a look at what was going on earlier in between our breaks, and you were showing me that little article. Now we're going to talk about right now, and you think, you know, with all the talk about China coming into the United States and buying up farmland, the whole conspiracy with the Fufang and Grand Forks, and everyone going out and claiming, well, China owns more land in the United States than anyone else. That's just not the case, is it, Bridgette?
There is not. So this is a recent report that I've been reading, and I brought it in. You guys have been looking over it as well. When we think about who is the country that owns the most farmland, but as a foreign investor, often people say, well, China has to. But actually, it's Canada. 32% of our foreign-owned farmland belongs to Canadians. I don't think that's very surprising if you farm in like Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota. We do have a number of farmers who farm both sides of the border.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that would get a little bit confusing when it comes to taxes. How do you get across the border with farm equipment? But they've been doing it for years and they're familiar with it, so this isn't a problem for them. The Netherlands also at about 13%.
I never would have thought that.
Dairies. They have a lot of big dairies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then everybody else is in single digits, including China. Now, when you look at the states, there are 21 states in the U.S. where over 2.5% of their farmland is owned by an outside investor. Texas is the largest, but they're also the largest landmass state. So they have 4.7 million acres that's owned by outside interests. I had a question this morning earlier on one of our segments where I was asked, well, why aren't we preventing more people from buying from other countries buying our farmland? They're private sales. You know, this is if Dean wants to sell his house and he wants to sell it to somebody from the Netherlands, he certainly can. And it's the same thing with farmland. It's not a public situation. In the conditions like you mentioned with Fufeng, but also Laughlin Air Force Base down in Texas, those were stopped where outside investors, primarily from China, were wanting to buy land right up against those air bases. And there was legislation proposed in 2021 that would prevent that type of thing from happening within certain proximity of military installations here in the U.S., et cetera. So that's what we know right now. It's not as big a number as you think. The number that surprised me was the state who has the lowest amount of farmland that's owned by outside interests was Kentucky. And I think of Kentucky as fairly agricultural, but probably also mountainous. And when you look at the second page of the article, it mentions that the majority of the acres that are owned by outside interests that are considered farmland are forestry.
Really?
Yes. So forestry is considered farming as well. That's how it's classified.
I guess so. You can do forestry and farming simulator.
Oh, wow.
And I've done it. And
have you
it
yet?
Sucks.
Okay. We'll keep that in mind.
Don't do it.
All right. So those are just some of the facts and figures that are going on with foreign-owned investments right now. And one of the reasons why countries are coming here or other folks want to buy land has become an asset class. Whereas previously you worried about how much cash flow you had, your 401k, maybe you owned gold, silver, stocks. Now it's land. And there's plenty of money in the economy. That's a sign of the inflation that we're in. And people are wanting to buy. Still, when you have most sales happening between about 7 out of every 10 farmland sales are still farmer to farmer. But there is about 10 to 20% of those sales within that, last remaining 30%. They're folks that want to invest, such as teachers, accountants, lawyers. I'm sure Dean right now is currently looking at Pfeiffer's trying to decide which piece of land he's going to buy next. So,
well, there's a thing with that too. If Dean were to go out, which he needs land to go with his lawn mowing goat, his upstairs neighbor Bessie, cow that's stuck up there, and now his chickens that we've actually just placed an order in for his backyard, and we're going to have that hopefully by next week all set up. So
I'm going to need some more land.
You're going to need some more land. So let's just say we buy you, 50 acres of land. Dean uses 1.5. He can rent out those other acres to someone to farm on it, and then he gets a chunk of that money, doesn't he?
Oh, of course. So if you decide that you want land as an investment, you're likely not going to go out and buy all the equipment. You're going to rent that land out for cash. And that's what's happening in a number of those cases. It's not being farmed by somebody else. Or if you were already the renter on it, and maybe whomever you were renting from is retiring, you're going to continue to farm it. And there's a big chunk of farmers right now that are retiring. Average farmer age is somewhere in the upper 50s. That's our average across the U.S. And so you have folks that are on high commodity prices. They are about to be able to retire in a good spot, not in a down market. And let's face it, if Dean decides he's buying land and he comes to a farmer and says, I'll make you the deal you can't turn down, they're probably going to take it. It's a private sale.
I've got a trivia question for you.
Okay.
And I don't know if you'll know it off the bat, but so out of the percentage of
11,
out of the percentage of farmers that are retiring, what percentage are they handing the farm down,
transitioning down?
Yeah, to their kids.
That's a good question. And
opposed to selling it off to somebody else?
I think we probably can find that
dig in on
answer,
that.
but I think
I'd be interested to know.
I would think it varies some, right? You've got those that are going to transition to someone else that's coming in. You have to define that a little bit. Is it going to be a blood relation? Is it a son, daughter, niece, nephew, et cetera? Or in many cases, you have Justin wanted to start farming, but he didn't have a way to get in, so he partnered with an older farmer who helped him get experience, gain a foothold on rented acres or owned acres, shared equipment, and now Justin's taking over that portion of the land.
I don't know if I'd trust Justin running a farm because he still thinks HARP and aliens are,
Yeah, well, you know what? He's got that farming
together.
simulator game. He's a winning.
He does have the experience on that.
Totally
I'll give him
winning.
that.
Many hours.
So the reality is, I think, we see farmers that are retiring, and some of the largest land sales on record have happened within the last few months. $27,000 per acre in Iowa.
Wow.
There was also a Nebraska sale in a
Wait, how
similar.
much? $27,000 per acre.
And remember, an acre is equivalent to about a football field.
I mean, is that bad?
It's a little high. That's a lot of high.
Well, we were looking at residential land up in Grand Forks, and they wanted $70,000 for a quarter acre.
Okay,
I'm imagining there's a huge difference between
that's
farmland and residential
residential.
land. But I mean,
Absolutely. Now, that's a huge difference because you're not going to buy farmland in less than an acre chunk either. You're probably buying on a
probably buying it at 100 acres a pop, or at least probably 40, 50.
80 or 160. I mean, you think about a whole section, 620 acres. So now you're going to divide it up into smaller chunks. So yes, that's more than, that's where it's going to be at. When you're looking at residential land, now you've got electric and power and sewer and all those things to it. Farmland doesn't. You may have irrigation, you may have drain tile, but you're not going to have all the other things. And interesting enough, when you think about who's buying from each other, it might just be that that's a piece of land because it's adjacent to yours. You wanted to buy it, and you were going to pay no matter what. Or it's a piece of ground that was somehow in your family at some point. So there's generally another reason besides I just want to spend a boatload of money on an 80-acre field.
Right.
There's some difference.
Interesting. Well, we might have to come back to this topic after we get our guest on the line, because we could still probably talk about this for a little bit longer. But we're going to take a short moment here. We're going to get our guest lined up, Jason Dannelly from AgSpray of Fargo. And if you would like to join in on the conversation, ask Jason or us a question during his interview, feel free to do so. Give us a phone call. It's your opportunity to ask that question. 701-293-9000 will get you directly connected with us. Or you can always send those questions during or after the show to weatherorag@flagfamily.com. Stay tuned. Weather and Ag in Focus will return.
Pucklet Chevrolet Buick GMC in Valley City makes it easy to find your next Chevrolet Buick GMC or pre-owned vehicle by offering a great selection at our best prices possible.
Holiday Lights is bigger and better. The drive-through light show is now at the fairgrounds. Jump in the car and head out to the event that is merry and bright. Brought to you by Christmas Decor and Cass County Electric. Buy tickets online and save at RedRiverValleyFair.com.
Attention North Dakota veterans. Did you know there is free transportation provided to veterans for medical appointments? This service is at no cost to you and available in several highly rural counties throughout the state. Contact your county veteran service officer for further information. North Dakota Veterans Affairs, proudly serving veterans from around the state with additional resources.
This message is sponsored by the Department of Veteran Affairs and aired in cooperation by the North Dakota Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Jay Thomas Show.
Whoops, try again. Hi, you're caller 12. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Man, I can't believe you got through, man. You got yourself. You ready?
Yep.
People are dying to get their hands on these.
All right.
You got a 9-gram foil pack of Heinz ketchup.
The Jay Thomas Show, weekday afternoons at 2 here on WDAY.
Well, President Trump has announced, and now Ron DeSantis is rising fast in the polls. Newsmax is conducting an urgent poll. Do you want Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis as your candidate in 2024? It's a big question. Newsmax wants to know what you think. Vote in the Newsmax poll, Trump versus DeSantis. Just text the word ZONE to 39747. That's ZONE to 39747. It only takes seconds. Let your voice be heard. Every day I tune into Newsmax for news I can trust. They're even beating CNN in some key ratings. So make the switch and vote in Newsmax poll on Trump versus DeSantis. Text the word ZONE to 39747. One more time, the word ZONE to 39747. And make the switch to Newsmax today. You'll love it.
Do you run diesel? ATI Fargo has bulletproofing on your 6.0 vehicles. Looking to get fleet work done? ATI Fargo has you covered. They have fuel system disaster prevention kits for your 6.7 Power Strokes. ATI Fargo can get your Cummins head studded and never think of it again. Do you own a business and need quick turnaround on repairs? Call ATI Fargo. Stop in at 2764 44th Avenue North in Fargo. Running diesel? Check out ATI Fargo and give them a call at 218-639-5017.
And welcome everyone to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette, Readel, Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Meteorologist Extraordinaire Justin Storm. So we have had an exciting afternoon of talking about farmland values, the weather. We're going to get back to all of those things after we get this visit with our guest, Jason Dannelly. He is with AgSpray Incorporated here in Fargo. Jason, I know you because of, well, Snapchat fame, because you do a fabulous job. And you recently hosted an account that I'm familiar with, the Ag Mafia. So, Jason, would you feel free to introduce yourself to all those who are listening today?
Yeah, Jason Dannelly with AgSpray Equipment. I am the location manager of our Fargo location, but I'm also the marketing manager for the Ag division of AgSpray Equipment. In AgSpray Equipment, we've got 9 locations nationally, anywhere from California to Washington, down to Alabama, into Kentucky, and then, of course, Nebraska and Kansas. So we've got locations all over the country, and I oversee the marketing side of that Ag division. Our parent company is Fimco Industries, which a lot of people may be familiar with through different fleet stores out there in that name. And Fimco is kind of the, as I would put it, the consumer side of our brand, and AgSpray Equipment is kind of the heavier industrial ag side of the brand. And that's what I manage, in not only in the marketing side, but then locally here in Fargo as well.
So we're going to ask all sorts of crazy questions. Some of them are going to be ag-related. Some of them might even be consumer-related. But my first one for you, Jason, is what do you have at your Fargo store versus what a different state might have? Because I realize there's some differences in the crops that we're raising here versus, say, the Pacific Northwest. So how are you stocking differently depending on your region?
Well, as you guys have discussed, and you're talking a little bit with farm values here, you know, we're still very much kind of corn belt, a lot of row crops, and we have, you know, a larger farmer, you know, really in the North Dakota, Montana, South Dakota areas. I mean, you're talking the average farm size in these areas is over 1,500 acres is the average per farm. You get into the Minnesota side, you drop down to 800. And that number drops off a little more in Nebraska. So ultimately what we have is our location, we deal with a lot larger products. We're dealing a lot of 3,200 gallon transport tanks, 10,000 gallon vertical tanks, 3-inch pumps, a lot larger items than what you would see maybe in some of our southern locations. You know, we've got an Alabama location where they will sell 555 gallon 3-points to the customers down there because there's more farmers, more farms. They're a lot smaller. They don't need a 132 foot boom. They need a 20-foot boom, and they need to be able to, you know, get over 320 acres as opposed to 30,000 acres on their farm. So it really changes. And with us as a company, it allows us to grow in different ways. You know, we've refined our 3-point. We've come out with the new version of that, but then we've also refined large transport trailers to where you can haul over 6,000 gallons and to kind of accommodate farming all across the country, really.
All right. I'm going to laugh because just to get this in with all of you.
Okay.
You heard it from Jason. I say it all the time. Size does matter. Farm size. Just wanted to bring that up, guys. So go ahead, Dean.
Right.
Feel free.
How do I follow that up? Really? Man. Well, Jason, with the impending rail strike, Is that going to affect the equipment at all, or is the majority of this shipped by truck?
Raw materials, yes. So the impending rail strike could affect our company in terms of, say steel that we get in for our factory and the things that we make there, and also for poly tanks. All that poly resin is shipped in via rail as well. So that can also be affected. If we do see that rail strike, then we run into a raw material shortage, which really affects companies like ourselves for being able to produce those items and get them out there. The other thing that it does is obviously it hurts in the ability of our grain dealers out there to be able to ship product. And if you've already got a lot of on-farm storage because there was an impending strike last fall where maybe some guys stocked up and they've got bins full on their farms, that's going to have to sit there before they can get it into whatever co-op or wherever they may be taking it to sell that. And if that rail strike carries on and gets further and further down the road, it certainly is going to hurt a lot of people in terms of getting that product moved, whether it be whole grains going out, or product coming in for us to be able to manufacture things.
How did the whole shortage in the truckers and the supply chain shortages over the last couple of years, especially during the peak of the pandemic that was going on with Rona, how did that affect your guys' operation to where you are now? Or did you see yourselves kind of taking that downward swing like a lot of other industries and companies were, and you're kind of coming back up on that upswing? Or have we kind of been in a little bubble in the area where things have just kind of been constant for you guys or at the same level?
Things have been constant and better for us. The one thing I kind of mentioned at the start of the interview, we've got 9 locations nationally. We've got Femco Industries behind us. So, we are the largest purchaser of items from, say, Banjo, Norwesco, Hypro, TJet, some of these manufacturers. So when those supply chain shortages happened, one, we already had a good stock on hand to be able to cover some of those shortages, and 2, because of the volume that we purchase, we were prioritized over a lot of different places. Now, that's not to say we weren't affected. We definitely had shortages of material last spring, but as a company, we were strategic in the fact that we simply just looked at it and said, we've got to get this stuff ordered in. So stuff that we normally would wait for an October program to order and have it in by January, we were ordering in June and July to get it in for fall programs. So we have been somewhat beneficial. And right now, our inventory level for product at our company is at the highest level that it's ever been going into what we would call our busy season, which really starts in January. So I'm grateful for the company that we work for, that, we're willing to say, hey, let's get the stuff in, because if we don't have it, we can't sell it. And to be honest, if we don't order it and get it in, that allows for competition then to order that, get it in, and take market share from us.
Right. And speaking of competition, what does the competition around the area up here look like? I mean, who are you guys really competing with, or do you kind of just have everything in a niche market up here with your operation?
I would say, competition it's vast. There's a lot of competition out there in many different ways for us. And, I kind of think of it as, it's almost like college football recruiting. Where there's only so many recruits out there that you can go after. You get some of them brought on, they become longtime customers. You get the opportunity occasionally to capture some business that your competition wasn't able to capitalize on due to supply chain shortages, price, whatever. So I would say there is a lot of competition in this area, and honestly, some really great companies. We deal with, we go up against that competition all the time. And when we run up against certain competitors of ours, when our customers come back and simply say, well, hey, they had it, we got it from them, we say, good, we're glad that you got taken care of. Obviously, I'm a business manager. I want to get all the business possible. I want to, feed our company so we can continue to grow. But there are some fantastic companies that really are thinking farmer first out there. And I respect them as our competition out there. And ultimately, end of the day, what we're working for is to make sure that, ag can thrive in the Red River Valley and beyond, and that our customers are getting the best product at the right time and the best quality.
Right. Well, they always say.
How's that for a nice little quick political answer?
Perfect.
Well, they do say for the consumer, competition is good for a consumer.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. We are going to continue our conversation with Jason Dannelly with AgSpray Incorporated here in Fargo. We will do that after we have just a short few commercials. And folks, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us, 701-293-9000. When we come back, Jason, I think we might have to define, when you said banjo earlier, we're not talking about musical ones. So we'll maybe mention what that is after we come back.
When a flashlight grows dim or quits working, you don't just throw it away.
Of course not. You change the batteries.
When a person messes up or finds themselves in a dark place, do you cast them aside?
Of course not. You help them change their batteries. Some need AA, attention and affection.
Some need AAA, attention, affection, and acceptance.
Some need C, compassion.
Some need D, direction. If they still don't seem to shine, sit with them quietly and share
your light. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Jaden from the Window and Door Store
in Fargo.
Life can be stressful. You deal with work stress, financial stress,
family, relationship stress, and even health stress.
We believe in helping and supporting people.
We believe in family first.
We believe that people need time off to take care of themselves.
Check us out, the Window and Door Store.
Go to thewdstore.com.
Today, health is the new wealth.
Kindness is the new cool.
So be cool.
It's Jane Ronnie from the Coffee Club, and we love MyPillow. We absolutely love the Giza Dream Sheets, made with the world's best cotton, grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. Its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable.
Yeah, let me tell you, this 400 thread count, they are fantastic sheets. They are warm when you need to be warm. They are cool when you need to have very thin layer between you and the mattress. It is a fantastic sleep with Giza Dream Sheets. 60-day money-back guarantee, machine washable and durable, and a 10-year warranty.
Available in multiple colors, styles, and sizes. All right now for a great low price of $29.99 with promo code WDAY. All you need to do is go to MyPillow.com, go to Listener Radio Special Box, put in the promo code WDAY. MyPillow.com, go to Listener Radio Special Box, put in the promo code WDAY.
Promo code WDAY.
Hi, my name is Justina, and I am a junior at Fargo North. I moved here with my parents at an early age, and I plan to study business in college. The reason that I'm so hopeful about my future is Legacy Children's Foundation. I want to thank the amazing donors who are complete strangers to me. I'm amazed by the generosity. Because of them, Legacy youth receive resources and positive relationships to become educated leaders. Find out more at legacychildrensfoundation.com.
My family got a vehicle donated to us. It was the most amazing feeling driving home knowing we were safe.
Hi, this is Matthew with Fix It Forward Ministry. This November, we're raising Dollars to Drive. All donations in November will be matched up to $50,000, helping us to impact more lives, provide hope, and reach goals by solving transportation issues for those in need in our community. To get your donations matched, visit FixItForwardMinistry.com and click on the blue Donate Money button. Fix It Forward Ministry, driven to serve.
Do you suffer from dental pain, your mouth hurts, or broken teeth? Is dental pain keeping you from feeling your best? Do you suffer from dental anxiety or fear of the dentist? Please listen carefully to find out if you're a candidate for our unique approach to get rid of your dental anxiety, heal your pain, and restore your smile. Find out now by calling 701-515-9850. Dr. Werman has been treating patients with dental anxiety for over 18 years. Our office uses the latest dental technology and anesthetic solutions to keep you comfortable, at ease, and relieve your pain. If you put off necessary dental treatment, your dental pain won't go away. It can lead to serious health problems and complete tooth loss. So call now to see if you qualify at 701-515-9850. Again, 701-515-9850. Call now to relieve your pain and restore your smile today.
And welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Justin Storm, Meteorologist Extraordinaire. And today, telling us all the jokes in the background, we have with us our guest, Jason Dannelly. And Jason is with AgSpray here in Fargo, North Dakota. And for those who want to ask him questions, you can do so at 701-293-9000. My question before we took a short time off was, Jason, you mentioned banjo, but it's not like dueling banjos. This is not a musical instrument. Do you want to define what banjo is?
Yeah, ultimately plastic fittings, couplers, a lot of farmers are going to use these. Mostly, and I even went and grabbed these during the break for those on the video feed. The quick connect couplers that you use so often in a lot of different plumbing situations where you can put them together, lock them down, be able to separate apart. That's what banjo's mostly known for. And we obviously sell a lot of those couplers, along with a lot of other plastic fittings.
So it's not that you guys can't sing when you're out in the field, but you bring in your own musical instruments. Jason's not providing them. So there you go.
And Jason,
there you go.
Yeah, and Jason, with our economy kind of not in the best shape and heading towards a recession, or some would say we're in a recession, how has this affected sales, if at all, for you?
What it has done is maybe this fall we've noticed some of the larger purchases that happened last fall have backed off a little bit, but ultimately farmers understand, and even ag-related companies understand what they've got to do to keep equipment up, make sure that they have minimal maintenance on it, even do some of that annual maintenance. So we're still seeing, quite a bit of a push in that direction. I would just say it's more like a reallocation of funds instead of looking for that large equipment purchase. Now we're doing a lot of parts, replacement parts, smaller pumps, as opposed to, a 48-foot trailer setup or a van trailer setup or something like that. So that, I think that's more of what we're seeing now.
Mm-hmm. With being here in the Fargo-Moorhead area, what are people coming to you guys for the most, or what's like the most business that you're doing with the community around our area? I know you guys do a lot. What would you say is like the more common, or what you're kind of known specifically for?
I would say in the last couple years, really known for plumbing, tanks, plastic tanks, poly tanks, the transport side of it. So, anywhere from 3,000 to 10,000 gallon vertical tanks, and then all the fittings and plumbing that goes along with that, along with transport tanks. That's really been what the area has seen. And then smaller lawn and garden items, your smaller 3-points, your 12-volt units, things like that. And the great thing about us really in the last couple of years is we do have a large enough product offering that when a fertilizer source might change from, say, anhydrous to dry fertilizer to liquid fertilizer, we deal in all of those products. So we're able to just kind of change with the times as it goes. So we do see minimal interruption because of that, which is kind of nice, rather than just kind of have it one shtick that we're with. It certainly helps us out in that regard.
I like the fact that for your background, Justin, you could get that 3,000 gallon tank for irrigating your garden now. How's that?
This sounds like a good deal to me. Make things nice and simple. So with a lot of these large equipment, the tanks, the 3,500 to 10,000 gallon tanks, is there maintenance that goes along with that? And if there is, do you guys provide their maintenance? Do people need to bring these to you? Do you go out to them and take a look at what's going on with their stuff?
A lot of this stuff is all stationary on a farm or are going to be permanently mounted to their equipment. We don't really do any of the maintenance, but it's minimal maintenance on it. Ultimately, if you've got water, fertilizer, whatever in one of those tanks and they're sitting outdoors, ultimately you either make sure that they're empty, or that if there's going to be any water in those plastic fittings, you get it drained out, or mixed with like an RV antifreeze so it doesn't freeze solid and crack those fittings. So pretty minimal maintenance, and most of our stuff is all handled by the end user, the farmer, the co-op, the business that's purchasing them.
So if we farm, if the three of us have an LLC together and we want to redo our spray trailer, right? What hauls all of our water to the field, what hauls all of our chemistry, does all of our mixing for a sprayer, can we just bring our trailer in and have you walk through with us what changes we want to make and how to do it? Or would you prefer that we come in with a plan? What's the best approach for someone to do that?
We do everything. We have people walk in with the sheet of paper and we kind of say, hey, here's how it goes. We have people pull in with the trailer and they say, this is how it is right now. We want to change it to something better, and then walk them through what they need to be able to do to make that happen. So we do a little bit of everything there. One thing that we have found is there is not a one size fits all. Everybody likes things a little bit different. Maybe somebody wants some more electronics and precision put into their equipment, and maybe they don't need that. Maybe they just need a 3-inch pump and a couple tanks and be able to get it out to their sprayer or, into a fertilizer unit, whatever it may be. So we do have a lot of different ways that we can put them together.
Right. And we're just going to take a short break here, Jason. We're going to head over to our WDAY newsroom right now. Ty Schoenert, reporter's got some breaking news that's just coming in. So, Ty, what's going on?
Yeah, so on Upper Red Lake right now, 100 people are estimated to be on a large ice chunk that broke free on Upper Red Lake as we speak right now, and they're on that ice chunk, it looks like. So people who are on, and it looks like there's going to be an evacuation underway from the Beltrami County Sheriff's Office and other first responders. There's a temporary ice bridge on the open water as well. Details on that are on our website. Honestly, we know very little when it comes to this. This is just breaking as we speak. People on the ice floe are currently on that ice floe and are stranded in the lake at this point. We're still learning the details, but if you need assistance, go to our website. They'll have a latitude and longitude for people to find a temporary ice bridge that's been set up as well. We're learning more details as we go, but that's what we have for you.
All right, and you said there's 100 people trapped on an iceberg on Red Lake right now?
Roughly 100 plus is what they're estimating.
Wow, I wonder what was going on over there.
They're saying there's a lot of fishermen on the ice floe.
Wow.
Yeah, I would bet that
I
over
guess
the weekend.
Warmer temperatures and a strong wind, you get some wave action under the ice. That'll break off some stuff real good. Well, thank you very much, Ty, for updating us on that. When you get information, just let us know. You can pop back on here.
Will do. Thanks.
So Jason is our guest, and for folks who are listening, we're talking with Jason Dannelly. He is with AgSpray Incorporated. Jason, I've got one last question for you, and that is, if I'm a homeowner in the Fargo area and I want to shop, I want to shop your store, what am I going to see out there? What do you have that's more fitting for the local homeowner market than you might just for the farmer market?
We deal with a lot of what we call garden hose fittings and items for gardens. We have different fittings that will, adapt right into the garden hose spout on your house. And maybe you want to do something with an outdoor valving system. Maybe you have a small half acre and you need a spot sprayer or something like that. We deal with all that. The other thing we deal with a lot too, people that are on lakes. And they're pumping water out of a lake, water systems for that, where, you can put a strainer and a hose into that water and be able to pull that water out, and some of the pumps and fittings that go with that. So a little bit of everything. There are a lot of items that can be used around the home and in your backyard that we offer that, can adapt right into your current irrigation system.
So Jason, for those who want to come out and visit with you, where would they find you, or how would they find your company online and yourself as well?
Well, I explain this two ways. There's the official way. We're at 4350 48th Avenue North. We're just off of County Road 20 to the north in the old Horvick manufacturing location. We acquired Horvick back in 2014. So if anybody's familiar with that, that is where you would find us. And of course, online at agspray.com. The unofficial way is, where that big new Amazon building is north of Fargo? We were there, and then they built there, and you can see us from the interstate. That's the easier way to do it.
They wanted to be next to you, the cool kids.
Yes. Yeah, that was it. That was a fun 18 months.
Oh, I bet. I had a question that just popped up when Bridgette was kind of asking about, around the house or around closer to the home. And you said that you deal a little bit with that with the consumers, not quite on the larger scale. There's a lot of people that do a lot of backyard gardening, and maybe some people, especially over in Lakes Country, they have bigger yards or whatever, or they have more room to do stuff. What kind of equipment do you have that would be more suitable for, the smaller scale, large yards, bigger home gardens around our area?
That 3,000-gallon tank for you.
Yeah, the 3,000-gallon one.
That's it.
So I'm cheap, and I'll use myself as an example. So I water my backyard, and I've got some pop-up sprinklers, and I can't hook all of them up at the same time and have enough water pressure to water my backyard. So I've basically put together a 2-valve system where I can turn on the spigot on my house, turn on one valve, it turns on the sprinklers going around the one way of my backyard. After I water for a while, shut that one off, turn on the other ones, and then I'm not picking up and pulling hoses and doing that.
Right.
So that's one example. example of what I use. There's also a lot of people that have maybe got a garden that's further away from their house, kind of like what Bridgette's talking about here, and they'll get a 1,000-gallon water tank, fill that up, and then pump water and use water out of that tank, so they don't have to have 700 foot of hose strung out to their backyard or where their back garden area is.
Right. Or actually, in my garden situation, if Jason could provide for me a 1,000-gallon mini bulk of ranch dressing, I may never go in the house again to eat, just based on the vegetable production. So we're going to work on that.
It's a lot of ranch.
Well, you see, he said that they're right next to the big Amazon building, and you can get a 55-gallon drum of ranch from Amazon.
Just need more.
They might be able to put a couple pieces together there.
I do have a random question for Dean before we wrap up here.
Sure.
Only because I know Dean and I have spent a lot of time in the Cornhusker state. I used to watch Dean on KPTM and KLKN, so I was kind of like, wow, I watched this guy growing up, and now I'm right here with him.
Wow, that's going way back, isn't it?
Wow.
Yes. Did Nebraska get their guy or not?
You know what?
I say yes, because at this point it can't get any worse.
You're 100% correct. He's going to turn the program around now. How far he turns it around, who knows? But it can't get any worse. You're absolutely right, Jason.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That is an ideal way to end this segment as we go to listen and catch up with American Ag Network and our market update. We'll be back right after this.
It's about tradition, values, and family ties. Bucklet Chevrolet's tradition of giving back to our community remains a priority. And that's why, to honor our veterans and active military personnel, we're offering an oil change special for just $40 in November. This $40 oil change special is our way of showing thanks for their service, dedication, and commitment. We're Bucklet Chevrolet Buick GMC in Valley City. Tradition, values, and family ties.
See dealer for details. Schedule appointment by 11/30/22.
Well, President Trump has announced, and now Ron DeSantis is rising fast in the polls. Newsmax is conducting an urgent poll. Do you want Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis as your candidate in 2024? It's a big question. Newsmax wants to know what you think. Vote in the Newsmax poll, Trump versus DeSantis. Just text the word zone to 39747. That's zone to 39747. It only takes seconds. Let your voice be heard. Every day I tune into Newsmax for news I can trust. They're even beating CNN in some key ratings. So make the switch and vote in Newsmax poll on Trump versus DeSantis. Text the word zone to 39747. One more time, the word zone to 39747. And make the switch to Newsmax today. You'll love it.
When it's time to build outside the box, build with Thor.
Stan, my mother's coming to stay with us indefinitely.
I need a space for the boys. Where can we watch the big screen, play cards, eat wings, drink, and work?
Stan, there's no room in the garage for my garden tools.
Need more space, whether it's a granny flat, a man cave, a decked out shop condo, or a she shed, or a horse barn. They've gotten creative when it comes to thinking outside the box. Thor Buildings at thorbuildings.com.
Wheat was down, beans were up. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Risco with this closing market. All three grains started in the red this morning. However, beans did turn around and find some support today, while wheat really just kind of had that descent down and stayed there all day. Corn, on the other hand, did try to fight its way into positive territory, mostly hemming and hawing on either side of unchanged for the good majority of the day. Livestock complex was lower and under pressure all day, with the hogs leading the way down. We saw USDA inspect 74.3 million bushels of soybean for export shipment in the week ending November 24th, along with 11.9 million of corn and 7.3 million bushels of wheat. Now, of those totals destined for China, included 55 million bushels of soybeans and 2.8 million bushels of corn. USDA reports that it has inspected 707 million bushels of beans for export shipment to all destinations so far this current marketing year, which is down 70 million bushels from last year's pace and down nearly 300 million bushels from the pace seen 2 years ago at this point. Now, if we put that into longer-term perspective, marketing year-to-date soybean export shipments fall short of the seasonal pace needed to hit USDA's target by 52 million bushels, although the deficit is still trending smaller. This is a relatively easy deficit to fill from a pure numbers standpoint, but the ready availability of cheaper Argentine soybeans and the anticipated approaching harvest of what should be a very big Brazilian crop create significant questions about whether we can hit USDA's target long term. Let's get a look at the closing commodity numbers. March corn unchanged at $6.7125. January beans up 21 at $14.5725. Bean meal January up $5.40 a ton at $411.70. Bean oil January up $141 at $73.12. Wheat Chicago March down 16.25 at $7.80 3/4. Kansas City March down 17 at $8.95, and the March Minneapolis wheat that was down 10 at $9.39.5. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Ristvedt.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with Ag Director Bridgette Readel and Meteorologist Justin Storm. We want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. Let's take a quick peek about what's going on around the nation. Some beneficial snows in the high country of Colorado. There's a storm system. There's two, one racing through southern Canada. That's what's affecting our weather, which will dump in some colder weather. And then another piece of that storm affecting areas of the Central Plains up into the northern Great Lakes, where there's winter weather advisories from western Nebraska up through southern Minnesota into northern Wisconsin, where they're expecting anywhere between about 3 and 5 inches. Not a huge storm, but that's another storm system on this LRC cycle that's taking the southern track. And again, I just think this is going to be one of the main themes we see this upcoming winter, with the main storm track down to our south. Other than that, as that storm system tracks through the central and southern plains, this is going to more than likely produce a major severe weather outbreak for tomorrow in portions of Mississippi up into far southern Tennessee, where could see a pretty big tornado outbreak in portions of northern Mississippi into far southern Tennessee. Not out of the question.
Not unheard of. Seems odd for December, but you are talking about the southern states.
You're talking about the southern states, and then we're going to see much colder weather follow this system passing through southern Canada for Wednesday, where we'll have highs in the teens, and then we'll slowly bump things up as we head into the end of the week. Another snow system comes in here Friday night, probably dropping a couple inches there, and then we'll have another system coming in next week, looks like around Tuesday or so, that could bring us some more measurable snow. It looks like we're stuck in a pretty cold weather pattern. We're starting to see signs of kind of what we saw earlier this season, where that upper low is parked over the northern lakes, and we get that flow coming right in from Canada, which means much colder weather heading our way.
I believe I said before Thanksgiving, I am okay with more moisture, but about my travel schedule, guys, Now.
Right?
You're impeding my driving.
I'm sorry.
And speaking about drought, so the latest drought monitor index having the southeastern part of North Dakota from Fargo southwestward in a severe drought. Areas out in the far western part of the state under severe drought as well, where the rest of North Dakota basically between abnormally dry and a moderate drought. So the far southeastern corner, the far western part of the state really under the worst conditions. And the really nasty, and we're talking about extreme drought covering much of Nebraska, western Kansas, and basically all of Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah. Oklahoma has been dry for quite some time and working its way down into Texas.
Right. And so it's good to see that with the LRC starting to set up now, that a lot of these storms taking the southern track, which means a lot of these areas that are under this extreme drought are going to get a little help for this winter. At least it won't be, a total shut off of any precip.
And here's the thing. You don't go into a drought overnight. Right. This has been an accumulation of dry weather for quite a period of time. So even if someone is getting that storm track coming over the top of them a couple times this winter, they're going to need that a lot in order to really regain their foothold on moisture.
This will just put a dent in it. It's not going to alleviate it for sure. No doubt about it. But again, any precip in the southern plains is much needed. And now we're really starting to need this here in the FM area as well.
Just hope for snow.
So we've got our snow bets down here.
We do. We've got our snow bets. And every time Justin says, I hope for snow, I think I just envision it's like a Clark Griswold moment, and then he's back in the weather office shining up his little red metal saucer sled.
You saw that thing too?
And he can't wait to take it out. And even though there's no hills around here, you're going to have to run it down an exit ramp or something.
We're going down the dike in Grand Forks.
Okay, fine.
Biggest hill in North Dakota.
I think we can do better.
Yeah, you think
I have some great pasture stories. We used to take an old car hood and go down some of our steep hills in our pastures, which was all fun and games until you'd hit a rock that was sticking out of the snow. And so I will say my tailbone took some beatings on that, or you just clear the sled. Everybody went flying off that car hood. So.
Also would like to promote, we are going to be out at the Ag Expo tomorrow at the Fargo Dome.
Northern Ag Expo put on by the North Dakota Ag Association. Our guest, Jason, who was just on, he's actually on the board for that opportunity, for that organization. And there's going to be a number of things. We're on tomorrow morning at 9 for those of you who have your certified commercial applicators, if you would like, or your CCAs, if you would, a crop advisor, excuse me, if you need credits, you need to stop up there from 9 to 10:30. We'll be speaking. After us will be Mary Thomas Hart with the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. She's talking about the SEC's Scope 3. We have all discussed that pretty heavily. She's going to talk about where that proposal sits and what the impacts are. Wednesday morning will be a marketing panel with several big brains on it, talking about commodity prices, the effects of what's happening in Ukraine, Europe, and other places, and what that's going to do not only to our commodity prices, but our crop inputs. And then also Wednesday is the commercial applicators recertification. So if you have your commercial applicators in North Dakota, which I do, you get to sit in on an 8-hour recertification class. I already did my recert back this spring. This time I just get to go in and help teach a couple of afternoon sessions. So a little bit for everybody. There's booths out on the floor at the Fargo Dome. Please swing in and see all of your favorite vendors. Be a good day to do it.
It's going to be a fun day.
I think so. And the weather's going to be nice. Usually it storms like a maniac that week. Thank you for pushing that.
Well, there's one going to our south, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. So, yeah, we're pretty much set for tomorrow, guys. We got all our slides ready. We'll be up there nice and early.
We got time to talk about Ukraine?
We can. Ukraine right now is way behind in harvest. Their corn acres, they're probably about halfway through where they should be for harvest. They've had delays because of diesel shortages. Also, some of their equipment, they can't get parts when they need it. And face it, some fields you can't get to because they got bombed, right? The road's missing.
It's still ongoing.
It's ongoing. They are behind. That puts pressure on global corn supplies just because somebody else has to have corn to sell in that place to their particular customers. We're hoping that they are able to catch up sooner rather than later.
You know, those countries that rely a lot on the Ukrainian grain and other ag products from there, is there a way that they can just substitute what they would get from Ukraine for, say, a cheaper, closely equivalent something from another country that has extra stuff?
You would like to think so, but think about our diets. We go to the grocery store because there's a particular item and or brand that we want to buy.
Oreos.
Right. And everybody else wants the same Oreo now. So now it's going to be a little more difficult.
The double
to find.
Stuffed one.
So now if you are
supply shortages.
If you are in a country where you have a food famine going on, you're probably not going to argue a lot. If you have the ability to negotiate that sum, you're going to try.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us here on Weather and Ag in Focus today. Remember, come find us tomorrow at 9 o'clock at the Fargo Dome. Will be a great time. We hope we get to see you, say hi, ask some questions. We'll be there for a couple of hours, and then we're back tomorrow for Weather and Ag in Focus, 1 to 2 o'clock.
And we're giving away a rain gauge tomorrow, so come see us.
Yeah. Fun times. Well, we'll see you tomorrow either at 9 a.m. or back here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for Weather and Ag in Focus. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.
970 WDAY AM and 93.